Mustafa, welcome to today's office hours.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It has been a while since we've done this office hours.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to learn from you, uh, from an expert engineer like you, Mustafa.
Thank you.
So, shall we dive into the questions directly?
Of course, I think nobody's here, so let's not waste time. So we can dive in if you want. You can.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, then I'll start with the submitted questions. The first question is about conditional display using some built-in transforms. A user is struggling with using especially the AND function for conditional display within the builder. They've
Mm.
tried for a while, but find it a little bit confusing. So
And
maybe could you perhaps show a screenshot or explain how to achieve the conditional
well,
display using AND logic?
it would have been nicer if we had the example in our hands for this particular thing. Let me open a builder. Oh, sorry. In a second. So I already had a blank app, I guess. Okay, so let's use this one. So imagine we have a button here, so which we want to display based on some conditions. So let's add two buttons. So we just want to show this based on some two two properties. So let's have two screen variables. Uh, Variable one, and this is going to be a boolean, and initially we're just going to make it false. And let's add another one, variable two. Let's make it boolean, and let's make it true this time. So like these can be anything. The first one is false and the other one is true. So, and let's say we just want to show this button one, and let's call this button two. And we just want to show the button two based on some conditions. So that's where this thing comes handy. And first of all, sometimes we do need to have multiple conditions that we have to handle. So and or conditions not only gonna help us if you use them individually. So based on the situation, again, there's no one truth on this thing, but you can use if statements here. So if you use these statements and enter everything that you show here, and like for example, if variable one, let's say, equals to variable two, then like this means we just want to show this return true, so which means like show it, otherwise return false. Like it's gonna be a little more confusing since I'm using booleans and conditional displays and booleans and everything. But yeah, I can see it might be a little hard to read through this conditional display. So right now we have got one condition in the if statements, and then like we're just gonna define the if true do this, if else do this. So this is one implementation of hiding or showing apps, but like I really strongly suggest people who are using this hover function so that it will show you in which level you're in. So which means that, like for example, we are in the conditions display, and this is going to be like the second iteration of this equation. So when I hover this, if I want to add an extra logic to this part, the builder already shows me that if you want to continue with this logic, you have to continue with the transform number two. So this will help you. This is the part that you have to add, because sometimes it's confusing that there's another transform right after we define something here. So like this is the transform to continue editing the variable just before it. But if you want to add something here, uh, that's where we have to continue. Like if like in addition to this condition, we if we want to add another one, if this is true and uh, one, let's say, equals to two, something like that. So basically, what happened is like we have got now two conditions here. This is the first part of the conditions, like we're checking if var1 equal to string var2 and 1 equal to 2. Basically, this is what like this is how and structure continues. Like if we want to add something more to this, like we have to continue with the three structures and continue like that. So it would have been much easier if we had an example in our hands to play around with so that it would be easier for us to explain what's happening there. But the one thing that is confusing, I'm totally aware, is that following the transforms, like where I should be adding this transform to, kind of problems always happen. So I really suggest using that hover button thing so that it will help you to decide where to go next. I wish I
Yeah,
managed the question.
it's super clear. The hover functionality is super helpful in that case, I guess. So if users want to use and or logic implementation in conditional display, they need
Yeah.
to use if then else.
No, not specifically. Like it really depends on the situation. Like they can use them on if they want to check only one condition, like if one thing and second thing, they can just use it directly. But I like if they use if else and then statements, it's much clearer for the users. Like if it is true, do this. If it is not true, do that kind of logic. So they can get the habit of using the if else statements in the transforms that will help them go through. But it's not necessary to use and or in the if statements. Like they can do it directly
I
if it's just
understand.
yeah easy condition.
Okay, it's super clear. Thank you.
No
And
worries.
the next question is about, let me check the question. Validating sports club. So this user has an app where users create accounts for their sports club,
Okay,
and they want to validate the club name before allowing account creation. So their idea is like this: user enters club name. If the name exists in their database, a message appears asking them to contact their coach for an invite code. If the name doesn't exist, the user can proceed with account creation. So
okay,
the user is encountering error when checking for existing club names, especially. So
okay.
they'd like to know how to handle cases where the club name might not be present in the API response or something.
Okay, so I guess like they want to create some kind of a screen, say sign up screen, and at
Yes.
the very initial step, they want to check whether a club exists or not. So I suggest at that part they can use action API request. So this like instead of using a fetch component there, because fetch component is the time where like we want to display something on the screen based on like the variable changes and like it will the fetch component will keep requesting the backend and get the latest results. But in this particular example, the users want to only check whether the name exists or not. So I suggest having a text box on the top of the screen, get the text of there, like have their endpoint ready, use that text, make a action stack API request, get results. Like if there is a result there, so I think like based on their condition, if like they want to continue being able to create the account if the team exists or if it doesn't exist. I don't know. Like based on their logic, they can continue. They can save that result within the action stack in a screen variable or something. Like if the results assume that they want to continue creation if there's a team there. So if there's a team, store that. like in a screen variable called team exists, and then in the second part, like after that, they can have a conditional displayed views in their screens. If that variable is true, like it might be just a button to continue to the next screen to finish up the onboarding sequence or stuff. So like in this particular example, I suggest them to use an action stack API request rather than a fetch call, because that fetch call might have some other issues, because the fetch component keeps it's like trying to refresh itself based on like the variables and stuff, which is not gonna be the ideal case in this example, yes. But again, we have to see the app first, like to have more context about the problem.
Yes, sure, I understand. I think that's clear. Maybe we can move on to the next question. Actually, they've already answered them in community. So they are interested in automatically running a function every 24 hours, even if the app isn't actively used. So they suggested using a device variable to store the last modified date and the on-screen focus, trigger.
I see.
However, the trigger only works when the screen loads. So can you advise on how to achieve this automatic function execution every day?
I see. I see. Yeah, yeah. I like as much as like Dave's suggestion is a pretty good solution to this problem. It is dependent on the user's interactions, to be honest. So, like, if the user does not open the app for like for a week or something, this logic will not go through. However, like as a person, like from the personal experience talking, performing tasks like this is not very ideal in the front end side. So the first thing I would like to ask to this user, what kind of action they want to do in every for 24 hours. If it is something that they can perform in the backend side, like there are so many cron jobs or like services, cloud services that they can set up to run every 24 hours or every X time, so that it can perform it in the backend. If it's just kind of a calculation or something, I would suggest going through that part. But if this is a task that has to be done in the user's device, such as, like for example, getting the location of the device and store it somewhere else. There's only one solution, I guess, which is called like Expo background fetch. I'm not sure if this user has tried to use that, like implement that in that app, because that's the only way into this will work in the app. Like otherwise, they have to dive in more custom code related issues, and like being able to control the task manager of the device, which is a slightly like more advanced type of task. Like they can always ask like the experts help us on, because it's going to be a little hard to explain. But expo background fetch should be good enough to perform like this simple tasks. But again, that's not gonna always work, like because like somehow if the user disables some functionalities, or like remove the app from the background completely and everything, this will not gonna work again. So like it's hard to get devices perform specific tasks without being active in neither in iOS nor in Android. It's a very hard task to complete. So Dave's suggestion is a pretty good one, because in this case, if the user opened the app, we're definitely going to be sure that we're going to get some data out of the system or something. But again, it really depends on the situation. So I think they can give a try to this Expo background fetch one more time and see how the things goes.
Does is Expo background fetch
Yeah.
compatible in the builder?
I haven't used it myself. But I'm thinking that it might be like as soon as it works with the Expo, like majority of the Expo packages are working with Draftbit. But we have to test. I haven't done it personally myself. But these kind of tasks can only do happen with this library. In experts world, like for example, we use this kind of tasks to send notifications or like some actions to calculate some wallet balances or something. We all do these kind of tasks in the back end, like with the cron jobs, like, and so that it's gonna be always live. It's gonna be always performing this actions and everything. And like for example, if it is something that this user wants to do, they can like edit the app in a way that like all the data is needed to perform this action can be collected while the user is interacting with the app, and again the backend can do it once it's reached that time. So they can have like they might be able to change the logic to perform. So first of all, we have to understand why they're doing this, and we can like have a clear option or like clear solution to this problem.
Um, Sorry. Also, you have mentioned that they might need to use expo-task-manager. I'm asking it because some users are asking it the implementation of expo-task-manager. Is that also compatible in the builder, or what kind of functionalities does it have?
Task manager, like it's not directly compatible with the draft. They have to use some kind sort of custom installation and the custom codes, but sooner or later it can work in Draftbit, but it will require some additional things. It's not going to be like a drag and drop component
I see.
kind of level solution. Yeah,
So it might require some kind of f.json modification
exactly,
or something.
exactly.
I see,
Yeah,
but we can do that for our users if they can reach out to
yeah.
support
If
chat.
yeah, if this like again, like we have to see what, for example, a lot of users are trying to do something in a way that like when there's a really easier way to do. So like we just have
Yeah.
to know, like that happens a lot. You can see that happening a lot in the community and everything. So yeah, we just have
Right.
to.
Thank you. Okay, and the next question was about, I think, decoding token with user ID. Is that, did I
Uh,
send it to you?
I saw a message saying that if I was to encode my JWT token with the user ID, how do I get it out of once it comes through the front end at the login? So again, encoding and decoding JWT tokens requires to use some crypto libraries, and which is going to be a problem when you're trying to release your app to the stores, like once you use those libraries. So this is another tip that I suggest you not to do. So basically, what
Mm,
you're supposed to do, like when, like you shouldn't try to encode, decode, or encrypt, decrypt any kind of code within the device level. You should keep them
mm,
and send them through your API logins, like API requests, and let the backend handle those things,
second.
and just get the results out of those things. But again, like there might be some times when you need to get this action happen within the app, but you have to be clear. Like for example, you might like be building a like NFT a wallet kind of system, so you have to handle all those decryptions and everything within the app device. Okay, you have a solid reason why to do this and within the app level. So again, like there are possibilities where you can like there are some other libraries that can help you do this, but again, like you shouldn't be doing this unless you really have to.
Mm-hmm. I see. So that user actually wants to decode this JWT token containing a user ID on the front end after login. So
Mhm.
it's better maybe for him to handle this in backend side,
Yes, exactly. After
right?
if it is after the login,
Mhm.
definitely they can handle this at the back end and just send them over the necessary
Okay,
data.
that's the secure way.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, and we have a question about, let me
The
check.
community URL thing, you the one that you
Yes,
sent.
yes, yes.
I think it would be better if I just go through the screen share and show the
Yeah, that
question to
would
the
be
user.
better. I think because the question was
Okay.
pretty long.
This question is a very popular questions that we keep getting,
Mm.
like about our PWA support. So, like, let me tell you one thing about Draftbit. Like we are low code mobile app development platform, but it also supports a like, very powerful support for the PWAs for the websites. But once you release your app to a PWA to a website, it will act as if it is a single site. What was it? Single screen app. So it will act as if it's a mobile app within the browser. So, but like majority of the users wants to have some kind of linking structures, like for example, my website slash blog slash ID and
Yeah.
just close there. But once you use our default export to the websites, it's not gonna work like this. But for this, again, like you cannot directly do this in Draftbit, but you can get the code, export the code, and like make this application live on another server, and like and configure your own linkings. When you export any Draftbit projects in the root folder, there's a file called linking configuration. There you can edit entire linkings and everything and just create your own URL structures. Again, in the experts world, we help our users to do this. We can do that for you if you want to handle all entire things. Like we just export your code, we create your linking structures, and like we tell you how to export it, like and display it on another server. We mostly use Netlify for this purpose, and then they can take this to the next level. But like unfortunately, there is no direct way to do this within the builder. You have to export the code, edit that linking configuration file, and republish your code. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, it's super clear. Thank you.
No
It's
worries.
highly requested feature, by the
Yeah,
way.
we got that a lot. So like sometimes it's like, hard to handle because some screens might have multiple. For example, this screen like seems like this user have a screen called blocks, and it has only one ID that takes that
Mhm.
ID to perform some action in that screen. But some screens have multiple
Parameters.
yeah parameters, and it might be sometimes harder to things, and like they want to show something on the like blocks, like if the user is authenticated, my website.com/blog should show this screen, otherwise show that screen. So there might be some different and complicated logics there, but it's totally doable, and like if they need help, we're here to help.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay.
Okay, that was pretty clear. And the other question, I think the last one I can say about real-time chat. So how can we create a group chat, let's say, but a real-time chat, or
Hmm.
yeah,
If you
in
want to
Draftbit.
in Draftbit or in any other app, if like it doesn't matter if it is like a web app or mobile app or desktop app, whatever. If you want to build a chat system, it is like the most popular and most ideal way of achieving this is using WebSockets. Like WebSockets is a synchronous connection between the clients and the server. So like whatever the clients, because when you have chat system, it can be a one-to-one connection between two people or a group of people connected to other group of people. So like four people in a group chatting with the four people in the same group. So whenever one person sends a message, it has to be delivered to other three in the simultaneous time. So WebSockets is the ideal way of solving this issue. And like right now, in like I can see majority of our users are trying to use just REST APIs, like REST API calls to perform this action. So that like it is okay. It sometimes works when it is like one-to-one call. Like for example, someone in the uh, customer services is things like the user enters something, you use a post request, send that message to the database, and in the server level, if a message is entered to the table, like the person in the other send is being informed, and they connect and like keep refreshing the page to get the new messages and stuff. It works, but it's not the ideal way. So I really strongly suggest using a WebSockets technology. And I also know that majority of our users are using Xano for their backends, and right now Xano also has started supporting this real-time databases. Actually, real-time databases are being supported by majority of the platforms, like Firebase supports it, Superbase supports it. Now Xano has it, and I'm sure that there are plenty of other uh, tools there, like that can help the users create their own WebSockets technology. They can create their own server and use the WebSockets library using Node.js or something. That's another level. But again, sooner or later, they're all using the same technology, which is the WebSockets. And like, if they do use Xano, they can take a look at the Xano's documentations for the real-time database. It's pretty easy to implement. It's just couple of clicks in the Xano backend, and they will provide you some data to be able to use in Draftbit as well, and also in other platforms. Then they can create their own chatting system, and like, which involves group chats and everything.
Yeah. I mean, then maybe we can have another session regarding WebSockets
Well,
implementation and Drafted maybe for our users.
exactly. Yeah, we can create a small demo like in one of our office hours, and like we can show them a quick demo how to create a chat app
Yeah, that would
with
be great.
yeah, and like they can use it in the PWA as well as their app. So like we can have a multi platform support as well. So yeah, that's a good
Oh,
idea. Let's do that.
yeah, great idea. Noted, Safa.
Okay, no worries. We'll do
Okay,
that.
I think we can wrap up our session. Um,
There was one more question, like which I just want to answer, like from
sure.
your list, which was the like a user asked how to get image color code from an image.
Oh, yeah, the hex
Yeah,
color question,
yeah,
right?
the hex color thing. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. So like there is a pretty good library which I also used in Draftbit before. It's called React Native Pixel Color. Let me check. Let me check. React Native Pixel. One sec.
Can you show
Pixel.
us?
Okay, so one second. One second. Let me share my screen again. So this library, it's a pretty old one, but it will work. You have to install this, and this is gonna help you. Like you call this library, get tags. You use the URI from the builder, for example, if it's an open image picker action that you send. You just take that string and take the X and Y position of the pixel that you want to take, and it's just gonna give you the color in hexadecimal. So like, which is pretty straightforward thing to do, and you can assign your mouse location to this, which is gonna which requires another implementation. But I'm just gonna not gonna bother explaining it here. But this library will help you to get the color code of a specific location of an image. So I hope this helps.
Yes. Although we don't have built-in functionality for this, but
Yeah, this is
we
very
can
very
just use this library,
exactly. Yeah,
and
and
with custom code, everything is possible.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Then it was a pleasure going through these interesting questions with you, Safa.
Same
Thank you
here.
for joining.
I wish I managed to answer all your questions. Like if you all
Yes, you did.
and like we feel free to use our communities. We will do our best to answer your questions. And thanks you, Rumesa, and special Dave for handling those. But like we're all here to help you out during your
Yes.
Draftbit buildings and achieving your dreams.
Yes, thank you. As Safa mentioned, please feel free to, reach out to both our support chat and also our dedicated community where you can post your questions and get help. And we have our experts here. They can help you with your project. And please remember, there are no bad questions here. So we're all here to learn and grow together in Draftbit.
Exactly.
And that's it. Then see you in the next office hours session.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
was a pleasure.
Bye bye.
Yeah.